Yo, what's up? What's up? It's the Hungry Millennial back again with yet another Proactive Pragmatism. On this week's Proactive Pragmatism, I'd like to talk to you about taking ownership of your narrative, your personal narrative. So, what I start to see in a lot of jobs and a lot of people are hesitant and upset that they don't get certain opportunities. And one way that I've learned to get better opportunities and to improve myself and grow is taking ownership of the narrative. And so the narrative of your life, the narrative of your career, the narrative of the actual facts that you are facing, not the dreams that you want to happen tomorrow, right? So when you're taking ownership of the narrative, you want to maintain your work ethic. You want to implement empathy in the macro. And you also want to speak up, but you also want to choose your moments. And so let's get into it. So when we talk about maintaining your work ethic, right? So if you're transitioning from a job to another job because you don't like something about the job or the opportunity, make sure that you are still working just as hard, because you never know what conversation or what phone call you might need to go in your favor when pursuing a new opportunity, when pursuing a new career field, right? The world is very, very big, but it's also very, very small. So we want to be extremely respectful of others and our time and our career opportunities. We want to be able to have as many career opportunities as we possibly can. And so this ties into empathy, right? So empathy in the macro. Empathy in the macro means, oftentimes we get so caught up in ourselves that we don't realize that other people have issues and they have problems as well. Not every slight or not every attitude that you get thrown your way is a reflection of you. Maybe, a lot of times people get frustrated, and it's hard, especially in this microwave society, it's hard to detach from that scenario and say, hey, maybe Jim, Bob, Mike, Sarah, maybe they woke up on the wrong side of the bed. And if I implement a little bit of empathy, and it doesn't have to be, digging deep into the weeds to solve all their problems. It could be, hey, bro, hey, sis, you doing all right today? And then you might open up a whole nother door, and that empathy might help you in your process, but it's also going to help you own the narrative, because you go from the person that might have made their day worse because you just want them to get the job done, to the person that brightened up their day and helped them slog through the monotony that is life, right? Because life is tough, life is hard. So if you implement empathy, you will get empathy back. But that also comes with saying no covert contracts. Just because you're nice to Sarah today doesn't mean she's going to be nice to you tomorrow, right? When I started adopting the narrative of, I'm going to try to do my best to do right by people, no matter what the situation or the scenario or what happens, that's when things start falling in the line, because I'm doing it out of straight up love and empathy for the people. And so when you do everything out of love, you start thinking, you know what? Even though I got slighted, I'm going to treat this person right. That doesn't mean, be stepped on or be treated wrong. It just means move differently when you're treated with malice. And so third, when it comes down to owning your narrative from a branding standpoint, you have to realize that you are a brand, no matter if you like it or not. Either you're on social media or you're not. But a lot of people, if they're not on social media, you're not actually visible, because people can't find out things about you. I don't make society, I don't make the rules, but you got to figure out who you're going to be in the long term and start being that person that you want, people to be to you. So a part of that is speaking up, but choosing your moments, right? If the person that says the most is usually listened to the least, because if they're always talking, you're always hearing white noise. And the person that's always talking always has the biggest problems, the biggest issues, the biggest slights with everything. But if you maintain a level of composure when you do start to speak up, and I'm not going to say this starts instantly, right? Because if they're used to you talking all the time and, they're used to you doing that, It's going to take some time to rebuild that rapport, to start to change the narrative that is your life, that is your personal brand. Start pulling back, detaching. Jocko Willink talks about this in his book Extreme Ownership. Detach from the problem and then attack the problem piece by piece. Start to segment those things off, start to compartmentalize those issues, and things will start to turn around for you. But if you don't detach from the problem, you don't really know what the problem it actually is. So for instance, when I get into work at FedEx, a lot of times you'll see packages everywhere, right? So people automatically want to jump the bones of the loaders. And I'm like, look, it might not be the loaders, it might have been the sort. It might have been how many packages were coming out. It might have been, hey, I should have gotten in earlier so that way I can stock this route and make my life a little bit more successful. What you'll find is when you start taking massive action in your life to move things around, because you know that you can't control everything all the time, but you make sure you're straight, a lot of the extra headache that you add to your life that's destroying your personal brand because you always complaining all the time, those things will start to dwindle. They'll start to change, because when you start with self, you implement massive empathy across the board. And starting with self is going to help you figure out what to speak on and what not to speak on. So that way, when you speak, when you say something of value, they actually take it and it's valuable. They actually listen. It sucks that people don't listen to everything that you have to say. But if you're always talking, then we'll never get the opportunity to listen. So I want you to understand that you're always a brand. And every day we have an opportunity to take ownership of our narrative. And sometimes it starts with a smile. Like I'm really bad at this. Like emotionally, I'm an introvert, right? So it's one of those things where like sometimes I'm just not really that into smiling, right? Like I'm not mad or I'm not sad, but I also have to realize that perception builds a perspective, right? And so we want people to perceive us as somebody that they can get along with. And so sometimes I got to throw in that smile. So, this is the Hungry Millennial telling you to own your narrative, own the brand, keep going forward, keep going and doing everything that you need to do to accomplish your goals. And make sure that you are maintaining your work ethic. Make sure you are implementing empathy in the macro. And make sure when you speak up, but choose your moments. So I appreciate y'all. If you have any questions for the podcast, anything you want us to address, you can reach us at PROPRAG20@gmail.com. And it's proprag20@gmail.com. Thank you.